Hey guys, Johnny here. Don't speak news. News we're not supposed to speak about. And before we get started with all of that, just a couple of quick notes here from the website. Put up a couple of posts this morning. Iron sharpens iron, taking every thought captive, in case you weren't aware of that one. And also this one, as in the days of Noah, talks about the times that we're in and how we know that we're actually in these days of Noah right now, the very ones that Jesus talked about in Matthew 24. But there's lots of stuff there that we can't speak about here, so I'll just put the links up like I always do. Now, on to the matter at hand. Let's take a look at some of the wars, rumors of war news. We'll start in the Middle East. Hegseth beefs up warship presence in the Middle East, and we'll have two aircraft carriers in the region. And now I'm seeing rumors of three. They're actually going to move three over there. So we'll just have to keep our eyes on it like we always do, right? Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, in a rare move, is beefing up the Navy warship presence in the Middle East, ordering two aircraft carriers to be there next month as the U.S. increases strikes on the Yemen-based Houthi rebels. And, of course, the upcoming attack in Iran, which I'm sure is in the mix. Otherwise, why would they be sending not only two, but now I'm seeing rumors on Telegram of three aircraft carrier groups that will be in the Middle East. So this will be the second time in 6 months that the U.S. has kept two carrier strike groups in that region, with generally only one over there. Prior to that, it had been years since the U.S. had committed that much warship power to the Middle East. According to the official, Hegseth signed orders on Thursday to keep the USS Harry S. Truman in the Middle East for at least an additional month. The official spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss ongoing military operations. So the ship has been conducting operations in the Red Sea against the Houthis and was scheduled to begin heading home to Norfolk at the end of March. And Hegseth has ordered the USS Carl Vinson, which has been operating in the Pacific, to begin steaming toward the Middle East, which will extend its scheduled deployment by 3 months. So they're extending these guys' deployments, which is tough on everybody. Not only that, they're leaving the Pacific pretty much wide open by moving the Carl Vinson. So now the Vinson is expected to arrive in the region early next month. It had been conducting exercise with the Japanese and South Korean forces near the Yellow Sea and the Sea of Japan, and was slated to head home to port in San Diego in 3 weeks. Well, not anymore. No, they may very well be going to war, maybe the Battle of Armageddon itself. The way things are shaping up in the Middle East, all kinds of things going on there. But now we're going to move our attention over here to this earthquake near the Iranian nuclear facility. Magnitude 4.8. U.S. Eastern Time this morning at 7:16, an earthquake of a 4.8 magnitude struck Iran at about 5 kilometers away from the Iran nuclear development site at Isfahan. This quake took place at a depth of 10 kilometers, so rather shallow. Earthquake weapon? Hard to say, guys. Hard to say. Given the geopolitics taking place these days, the depth and the location, many people are wondering if this was a test detonation, of a nuclear bomb. The depth seems to be too deep. Moreover, the earthquake pattern is not one that lends itself to being described as an explosion. And I'm sure that would have been even mainstream news if Iran had done something like that. But since the pattern isn't there, it's just not there. Nonetheless, you have to wonder, is this that earthquake weapon that I know that, a lot of different nations have, including the US, Russia, China? You have to wonder if they're not making earthquakes right around that particular nuclear facility. Hard to say. It's always a possibility. And then we go over to Ukraine, as now they're attacking the Russian gas pipelines, energy infrastructure, which, according to the ceasefire that they agreed to with Trump, Ukraine that is, Russia didn't really agree to it yet, but they did agree to stop attacking Ukraine's infrastructure, their electricity, their gas, all of that. But Ukraine turns around and violates the ceasefire right away as they attack this Russian gas pipeline. So a gas pipeline supplying the European Union is on fire in Russia, allegedly due to Ukrainian drone strike. A massive pillar of flames is visible near the Kursk, Russia and Sumy, Ukraine border. Meanwhile, Russia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs cries foul. Kiev has already violated the ceasefire. How will Trump deal with these mad terrorists? It was just earlier this week that President Trump spoke with President Putin and asked for a ceasefire against energy infrastructure. Putin agreed and immediately conveyed the appropriate order to Russian forces. So effective was Putin's order that the Russian forces, which had already launched drones toward Ukraine to attack such targets, used Russia's own air defenses to shoot down their own drones rather than cause a problem under President Putin's order. Today, Ukraine seems to have ignored the energy infrastructure ceasefire and bombed an important natural gas pipeline inside of Russia. And they've also did a massive drone attack on a Russian air base that's 460 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. So they're violating the ceasefire terms already. But they really don't have any honor, their armed forces in Ukraine. So why wouldn't they, right? Wow, unreal. So much to cover, guys. So much. Then we have rumors of war. France publishes a survival guide on how to survive nuclear war and other catastrophes following rapid militarization threats. Crucially, it will offer advice on what to do if an attack is imminent, including how to join local defense efforts such as signing up for reserve units or firefighting groups. So, after French President Macron threatened to use nuclear weaponry as a defense against Russia, should the war in Ukraine continue to escalate, France is now set to publish a new document that instructs civilians on how to survive nuclear fallout, along with other things such as pandemics and other safety hazards. While it is presumed that the document was already months in the making, the timing of the release is notable, considering Macron and the European Union's recent posturing and scheming to remilitarize the struggling bloc. And here's the guide that they've got. All the different things that they say you should have in case of war, which means it's coming. It's just a matter of when, and I don't think it's going to be very much longer. So the Daily Mail reported that the new 20-page booklet, reportedly packed with 63 measures, will advise the French on how to protect themselves and their families in the event of armed conflict, natural disasters, industrial accidents, or even a nuclear leak. It will include tips on how to create a survival kit with essentials, including 6 liters of water, canned food, batteries, a torch, basic medical supplies, and paracetamol and bandages. Crucially, it will offer advice on what to do if an attack is imminent, including how to join local defense efforts, such as signing up for reserve units or firefighting groups. Citizens will also be told to lock their doors in the event of a nuclear incident, advice that has already drawn ridicule from commenters. Yeah, it's kind of like back in the day of duck and cover, right? I went to school in the 70s. Tornadoes coming, just duck under your desk and cover, it'll be fine. Or nuclear bombs coming, just duck and cover. It's all good. It's kind of that ridiculous if you ask me. I'll let you read the rest on your own. But they are making more preparations in Europe for war. Then we have missiles over Yemen. This is from Israel 365 News. And this rabbi author here is trying to justify why Trump's warmongering is actually the path to peace when talking about missiles over Yemen. And so they're saying that a strong hand is needed, and and that the Arabs won't respect anything else is essentially what he's saying here. And so that by being this tough, not just talking about it, but actually acting upon it, by bombing the living you-know-what out of Yemen and all the innocent people there that are being killed, just like Israel's doing to Gaza, right? That this is what's needed, that the Arabs won't respect anything less. That's essentially what he's saying in this article. I'll let you read the rest of it on your own. I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter. But wow, the mentality here is just appalling. And then we have volcanoes, earthquakes in diverse places, and volcanoes popping off at diverse places as well. As a new vent is opened at the Yellowstone supervolcano, and the Camp Flegrei supervolcano in Italy could erupt at any moment. And these are 2 of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world, guys. You have to ask yourself, like Michael Snyder does here, are they starting to wake up? We live in a time when seismic activity is on the rise all over the planet. More than 3 dozen volcanoes have recently erupted, and there's more than 850 earthquakes. There's been more than 850 earthquakes in California and Nevada within the past 7 days. 7 days. Unfortunately, most people are not taking the threat we're facing seriously. Nope, because their phones are working. And as long as their phones are working, they don't think there's any problem. It's unreal. For example, an eruption of the Yellowstone supervolcano could instantly turn over our lives upside down and make most of the country uninhabitable for an extended period of time. Yeah, Revelation 19 says forever and ever. The smoke will be rising forever and ever. The ground in some areas of Yellowstone has been rising for quite some time, and now a brand new hydrothermal vent is open at the base of an ancient lava flow. Imagine that. While driving south from Mammoth Hot Springs toward Norris Geyser Basin early on August 5th last summer, a park scientist noticed a billowing steam column through the trees and across the marshy expanse. That was according to Yellowstone National Park geologists Jefferson Hungerford and Kieran Foles Donahue. The eagle-eyed scientist notified the park geology team to verify if this was indeed new activity, and it was. The steaming hydrothermal vent is located at the base of an ancient lava flow, and geologists measured its temperatures at 171 degrees Fahrenheit. It could be newly spawned activity from a steaming feature previously found nearby in 2003. Thankfully, seismologists do not expect Yellowstone to erupt right now. Well, what they expect is irrelevant. But when it comes to the most dangerous supervolcano in Europe, it's a much different story. According to the Daily Galaxy, there's been a surge in seismic activity at the Camp Flegrei supervolcano during the past year. And unless you've been living under a rock, you've been seeing these videos all around YouTube. In the shadow of Mount Vesuvius, a much larger and potentially catastrophic threat looms beneath the ground. Camp Flegrei, the most dangerous supervolcano in Europe. Over the past year, a surge in seismic activity has sent shockwaves, literally and figuratively, through the region, fueling fears of an impending eruption. With over 2 million people living in the potential blast zone, the question is no longer if this sleeping giant will wake up, but when. And when it has erupted in the past, guys, it wiped out an entire civilization. So this Camp Flegrei supervolcano covers an area of 77 square miles, and one expert is publicly warning it could potentially erupt at any moment. An Italian expert warns of a possible supervolcano eruption in Naples. Are we prepared for such a disaster? The Naples region in Italy regularly experiences earthquakes. Beneath the surface of the land and sea lies a massive supervolcano covering an area of 77 square miles. Giuseppe Mastroianno, a volcanologist from the National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, warns that the volcano could erupt any moment without warning. Why isn't this getting more attention? Mastro Lorenzo says that a full-blown eruption of the supervolcano could possibly release 10 times as much energy as the eruption that destroyed Pompeii in 79 AD. He added that recent earthquakes, including a 4.4 magnitude one last week, might be harbingers of an eruption. The evacuation plan involves moving 500,000 people within 72 hours, which Master Lorenzo considers a very optimistic hypothesis. If an eruption were to occur, the disaster for the region would be enormous, and instant, I might add. The energy released during the eruption could be 10 times greater than what destroyed Pompeii in 79 AD. The volcano has been emitting more and more carbon dioxide for years, recently 5,500 tons per day. The emission of hydrogen sulfide, among others, in the Solfatara crater has increased fivefold. The super eruption is long overdue. So you may not care much about this place or about that, since Camp Flegrei supervolcano is on the other side of the planet. But you should, because a full-blown eruption could potentially trigger a volcanic winter, which could cause a horrifying global famine. Yeah, it's the ash that would stay in the air for for months, if not years. The potential consequences of a Campi Flegrei eruption are terrifying. In the best-case scenario, toxic ash and gas could devastate local agriculture and force mass evacuations. But in a worst-case scenario, the eruption could trigger a global climate catastrophe, plunging the planet into a volcanic winter with disastrous consequences for food production and ecosystems worldwide. Meanwhile, lots of other once dormant volcanoes are already erupting all over the globe. For example, it was being reported that a volcano in Indonesia has just erupted by shooting ash and smoke more than 8,000 feet in the air. A volcano on Flores Island in Indonesia woke up island residents early Friday, when the latest eruptive episode sent ash and smoke up to 8,200 feet in the air, according to local geological officials. So this Lutabi Laki volcano on the southwestern part of Flores Island in Indonesia continues to erupt. And of course, Indonesia sits right along the Ring of Fire, so that's very alarming. It usually goes and spreads from there along that ring, right? So an even more recent report appears to indicate that smoke and ash from the eruption may now have reached a level of 53,000 feet. A new, very strong eruptive phase began at the volcano at 20:30 local time last night. That's 8:30 for you non-military folks, and is still ongoing at the time of this update. The activity of the volcano accelerated at 22:56 local time and produced a tall ash column rising at 8 kilometers above the summit that is drifting west and southwest, according to the local volcano observatory. So it's quite dramatic indeed. But mainstream news in the U.S. would rather talk about politics. And yes, they would. On U.S. territory, the most active volcano in Hawaii is shooting molten lava hundreds of feet in the air. Lava from Hawaii's most active volcano created fountains that reached 700 feet Thursday during the latest episode of an ongoing eruption. Kilauea began continuously releasing lava from its summit caldera inside Hawaii Volcano National Park on Wednesday morning after a week-long pause, according to the USGS. The molten rock was contained within the park and wasn't threatening residential areas. Yeah, at least for now. So they said the lava fountains reached up to 500 feet and up to 700 feet on Thursday morning. Some residents of Alaska are now being advised to prepare for a potentially imminent eruption of Mount Spur. Scientists are warning people who live in south central Alaska to begin preparing for a possible eruption of the Mount Spur volcano. The Alaska Volcano Observatory is now is a good time for Alaskans to familiarize themselves with the possible hazards of a spur eruption following last week's announcement that the likelihood of an eruption has increased. The major hazards to Alaska residents from spur would be from ash risk to aviation and possible ash fall. And so before I end this piece, I wanted to mention the alarming earthquakes we've been seeing in Southern California in recent weeks. Last Sunday, yet another significant quake shook the city of Malibu. Another earthquake rattled an area near the coastal city of Malibu in Southern California. A magnitude 3.9 earthquake was reported at 8:17 p.m. Sunday, about 7 miles northwest of Malibu, according to the USGS. Prior to that event, there have been a whole bunch of other sizable quakes in the area. Sunday night's quake near Malibu came after a magnitude 3.3 earthquake struck near the same area March 10th, and a 2.8 and a 3.0 earthquakes on March 9th. So additionally, a magnitude 4.1 struck on March 9th near Westlake Village, northeast of Malibu. On February 15th, a 3.5 quake struck at about 6.8 miles from Malibu and 9.5 miles from Thousand Oaks. Another magnitude 3.7 struck at 11:44 p.m. Friday, February 14th, roughly 7 miles northwest of Malibu. So guys, it's just a matter of time before the big one hits California. And the author says he's convinced that it's going to strike a whole lot sooner than most people think. And I would agree. But like he says, everyone's been tuning out the warnings for a long time now. Wow, it's all here, guys. Are you ready? We're at the end of the age. Time's just about up. Jesus Christ is about to return. He's the way, the truth, and the life, and no one gets to the Father but through him. He's the ark that you need now in these end times. Like I said earlier in the article I put up on my website earlier today, as in the days of Noah, we are there. We are here. We're in it right now. We've even got the Nephilim running all around us, being born in hospitals right here, right now, today. Wow, guys. Speaking of which, don't forget Sarah Israel's blog over on Substack called The Decode. She's got a new blog up here. She just put up yesterday. She's got another interview that she's put up, AI assimilation and the Black Mirror eyes. So from car wrecks to plane collisions to the next disaster, biblical proportions. I'll put that link up on the posting as well. And you'll find all of it at don'tspeaknews.com. And that would be it for now. God bless, take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.